All right. We're going to be starting in a little bit. We're waiting for all the attendees to actually join us.
Where are they?
They're coming, Hocam.
Okay.
The participants are in, right now. We're on 150. We're looking for 500 participants tonight. So we're full house, inshallah.
Inshallah.
And then there's also a YouTube channel also broadcasting this as well. So we'll wait another couple minutes. All right. Elif, I'm gonna go ahead and start. We're not. Are we waiting for a couple minutes, or should we go ahead and start? Okay, let's start. Okay.
Mr. Moderator, how long the?
So basically, you're gonna have to bear with me for 10 minutes. That's the worst part of the whole session, and then we're gonna have you for inshallah for 40 minutes, and then we'll have 40 minutes for Q&A, inshallah, and then hopefully we're gonna have a great session tonight. Just some technical things for everybody to know. On the bottom of our system, you will be seeing a chat. You will be seeing a raise hand logo, and you will be seeing a world icon, which is for the translation. Let me start with the translation part. There are two options for tonight. There is English and Turkish. The original session will be in English, and there's going to be translation. So there are two channels right now. The second thing that you may be seeing on the bottom, the raise hand function. The raise hand function works the same way the Zoom. And yeah, you can, like David Hatcher right now, raised his hand right now. This is when the QA is going to start, when the QA session for 40 minutes. Now, since we have a lot of people, you can send us your questions through chat. That would be easier, and then we'll ask that to Dr. Kılıç. And that may be easier for us, but we'll see when we get there. And then I'm going to go ahead and start after this technical explanation. Now, for tonight, we're very, very excited and very grateful. Now, everybody was complaining about the COVID, the illness, but I guess we're thankful since IBN ARABI Society started this thematic seminars online. And this is I believe this is the fourth circle, and we're happy to be part of the last circle of this year. And it's the autumn seminar, and I guess autumn is the most romantic seminar. We are very honored to be invited to host one of these circles in Istanbul. Very grateful to the society. The online seminars are presented by the Institute for Ibn Arabi Studies at the Kerim Foundation, the Institute for Sufi Studies at Üsküdar University, in collaboration with the Muhyiddin Ibn Arabi Society. Just a little information, Kerim Foundation and Turkish Women Cultural Associations, they are NGOs focusing on Sufi studies. We try to establish academical networks and initiations of academic partnerships. with the vision of one of the greatest 20th century Sufis of Istanbul called Kenan Rifai. The Institute for Sufi Studies at Üsküdar University is one of those initiations, actually. And as you know, the Muhyiddin Ibn Arabi Society is an NGO to promote a greater understanding of the work of the great Muhyiddin Ibn Arabi and his followers. Has members from 30 countries, and it's a very prestigious party. Now, the series will consist of 4 seminars, and we're going to do it on 4 consecutive Saturdays. The first 3 seminars will introduce different perspectives on the theme, understanding Ibn Arabi. And the final session will be a panel discussion. And we're going to bring these speakers together to discuss and develop all those 3 sessions, actually. Tonight, Mahmud Erol Kılıç, Professor Dr. Mahmud Erol Kılıç, he's going to be talking about Ahmed Avni-based understanding of Ibn Arabi. And we're going to be starting in a few minutes on that. On next week, on 13th of November, another Saturday, Layla Khalifa, she's going to be honoring us with the theme of Ibn Arabi in spiritual fiqh and the Gnostic knowledge. And the third one and the last one of the sessions would be Mukhtar Ali, and he's going to be speaking about Dawood al-Kayseri's Muqaddima, the essential introduction to Ibn Arabi. And the last one, as I said, it's going to be about a panel discussion between the speakers, among the speakers, and of themes arising during this seminars. Now, I'm happy to present Mahmud Erol Kılıç, who is my teacher, who was my teacher actually. It would be probably would take us less time if I had told you what he was not, but I have to tell about what he is. So I'm just gonna talk about some highlights. As of right now, he's the director general of the Research Center for Islamic History, Art, and Culture of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Not too long ago, he was the ambassador of the Republic of Turkey to the Republic of Indonesia. And if I have to read all his qualities, it would take a long time. He's a writer, he's a professor, he's a journalist, he's a teacher, and most of all, I guess, although he's not going to confess, he's a great Sufi. And I'm just gonna thank you very much for bearing with me, and I'm gonna leave everything to Mahmud Erol Kılıç now.
Thank you very much. I would like to begin with thanking to all who afford to realize this event, starting with Ibn Arabi Society in Oxford, and Kenan Foundation in Istanbul, and Üsküdar University in Istanbul, and to whom are watching behind the screen to us. I would like to say hello, salam to all who are watching and listening to us. Salam from Istanbul. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I would like to emphasize today's topic. I choose a contemporary follower of the Ibn Arabi. Why I choose this person? First of all, although Ibn Arabi is a universalist person, but his leg was stand on a tradition, which is he is coming from his background, and with the other leg he was traveling. He was like a compass example, which Mevlana and some other Sufis also use in this symbol. He was traveling all over the world, all over the his caravan, visiting all over the faiths and all humanity. But my leg, of course, is one of my leg is standing in my culture, which is Istanbul. I was born in Istanbul. That's why I prefer to give an example from our history. Uh, Ibn Arabi's followers all over the world. Ibn Arabi, as I told you, he is a sense of universalist thinker based in Islamic tradition, but his ideas is more metaphysical and more comprehensive than what we thought, actually. What he left, his physical body also came to this land, as you may know that around 10 years he spent in on the Anatolian soil, on the Anatolian land. He entered to Anatolia and spent nearly 9 years in Malatya, then Sivas, then Konya, and he went to Damascus and he died there. During his stay in here, actually physical visiting, and he left some sprint behind him. Uh, the second stage of the interpretation of a thinker is more important for us, for contemporary followers, because Ibn Arabi was the receiver of the, let's say, intuition, ilham. He himself was the receiver. The problem is, like all prophets were, all of them were receiver of the revelation, wahi. Then his followers, their followers who came after them, they interpret their revelation on the way which they understood. So Ibn Arabi's understanding also in front of us, another, it remains as a problem, actually. It is not a problematic, but a problem itself. So as much as we want to deeply to this ocean, then we can take out some pearls from this ocean. Ibn Arabi, as you know, left behind him a very important commentator of him, his nephew. He is Sadruddin al-Konevi. Through Konevi, a gate to east, it is opening. As you know, Ibn Arabi came far west from Andalusia to the Middle East, but the gate opens with the Sadruddin al-Konevi. His ideas, his insights goes to east, starting with Sadruddin al-Konevi, then Abdurrazzaq Kausha, Mayyedatin Jendi from Al-Jand, from Jand, Central Asia. Then Abdurrazzaq Kashani, Saidatin Fergani, and it comes to Dawood al-Kayseri, who is very important figure of the Akbarian lines in the beginning of the Ottoman Empire. So starting with Dawood al-Kayseri, ending with Ahmed Avni Konuk, around 7 centuries of the Ottoman Sufi tradition survived, more or less survived up to now. Although we witness some political and bureaucratical changing, but spirit is continuing, I believe so. This continuation of the spirit is very important in the Ibn Arabi's thought and Ibn Arabi's school, because Ibn Arabi, as you know, as all you know that Ibn Arabi himself, he says that he received a commandment from Prophet Muhammad in his lucid dream, let's say, or in a spiritual stage. Actually, it is not just a dream, a spiritual stage. The the title of the title of manuscript, actually it was not written yet, but the title was the sources of the wisdom, which is called Fususul Hikam, was given to him by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu to him directly, as he explained at the beginning of Fususul Hikam. And he says that, and Prophet says that, took it. So he said that I take it. It is my pleasure to obey God and his messenger and the rulers among us, he says. So Ibn Arabi says that I realized that my hope to explain the book to the people just as the messenger of God defined for me, he says, and making no addition or diminution of it. Why I start with this quotation from Ibn Arabi? Because later on we saw the same spiritual lineage is continuing. For example, some of you may know that there is a third generation after Sadruddin al-Konevi. It comes Sayyidin Fergani. Sayyidin Fergani wrote the book which is called in Persian Masharik al-Darari. And in Masharik al-Darari, what is this book? Is a commentary on Ibn al-Farid poem. At the beginning of this book, he says that in Persian, he wrote this book is twice. First, he wrote in Persian, Masharik al-Darari. Then he himself translate this book with enlarged edition into Arabic. So we have two books which are based on the same approach, same knowledge, but in different style, different language. First, the original text in Persian, then he himself translated into Arabic with the enlarged version. In the Persian version, he says that this book was registered under his name. If you go to any library, you will see this book under the title of Sa'iduddin al-Fargani. But if you read the beginning, he says that this book was a notebook of the classes which I was attending, classes of Sadruddin al-Konevi, who was explaining, he was giving the courses on Ibn al-Farid poem. He comments, who is Sadruddin al-Konevi, commented on the Ibn al-Farid's poetry, and I attended this class and I took notes from that. So, which means that this book, although it was registered under the name of the Sa'iduddin Fergani, this book actually originated from the mouth of Sa'iduddin al-Konevi. So this book is belonged to Konevi. But Konevi, we know historically that Konevi started his classes in Damascus, then moved to Cairo, then to Konya. So 3 different locations. He continued commentary, making commentary on the Ibn al-Farid. But when we read Konevi, Konevi says that, this is very important, what he was saying, what he was confessing. When I was doing my classes on the poetry of the Ibn al-Farid, Before coming to the public, coming to the audience, in front of the audience, I was meditating in a room, and I was asking from the spirit of my master, who is Sheikhul Akbar Muhyiddin ibn Arabi, and he was explaining to me what I will tell. So when I will go there, I was explaining what I was taught by my Sheikhul Akbar. So you see, can you follow the lineage? Can you follow the line? Goes back to, although it is written under the name of Sayyid Fergani, goes back to Konevi, then to Ibn al-Arabi. And Ibn al-Arabi says that I was taken it from Prophet Muhammad. And Prophet Muhammad in Quran says that, وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ. So he was taken from Allah, from God. So when we see this spiritual lineage and the line, we believe that it is continued. It has been continued for centuries and centuries to from heart, pure heart to the another pure heart. So up to Ahmad Avni Konuk, who is I'm trying to focus on, introduce to you this contemporary Akbarian commentator on Fususul Hikam. First of all, I would like to show you what was his spiritual background. This lineage comes from this line. So Dawud al-Kayseri also was taken from Abdurrazak al-Kashani. Kashani or Kasani, there is a different interpretation. Some say that Kasani, if it is Kasan, Kasan from Central Asia. If it is Kashan, Kashan in Iran. But the oldest copies, it says that Kasan from Central Asia, like Muhyiddin al-Jandi. So, starting with these, we have to, in front of our eyes, we have to keep in mind that still Ibn Arabi's line continuing up till now from the beginning with a spiritual masters, from masters to masters, sometimes from master to the pupil, from master to student, and continuing. Sender and receiving, there is a trait between them, there is a link between them. So who is, well, before introducing Ahmad Avni Konik, I would like to say a few words about Dawud al-Kayseri, or friend, third speaker will be Mukhtar Ali. Inshallah, we'll be focusing on him. His commentary on Fususul Hikam, especially the Muqaddimah, the introduction to his commentary, Dawud al-Kayseri's commentary, was considered by many a good introduction, prolegomena to the Akbarian thought. Even some manuscripts we witnessed, we saw separated, they have taken out from the large volume and considered as a separate book, this introduction. Actually, it is not a separate book, it is an introduction of Fususul Hikam. So Dawud al-Kayseri, although he was not a classical Sufi Khanikahi, Darwish Khanikahi, which means a Sufi residing inside a Tekya, Khanikah, Dargah, or Ribat, or any Sufi lodges. He is a bureaucrat, and he is a, let's say, a madrasa teacher. So with him, Akbarian thought amalgamate into a madrasa system, which is very important. Madrasa system, which means madrasa is where the religious language, religious terminology, religious sciences were being taught to students, but with the amalgamation of the Akbarian thought very important. Can you imagine Fusus Hikam was being taught in the madrasa system, in the religious seminary in a sense. So the students at the time were Taliban. Can you imagine Taliban means who are making talab, demanders, students. Just make a comparison between 700 years ago's Taliban and today's Taliban. So the curriculum and mindset was completely changed. They take out Sufism, take out Sufi sciences or esoteric sciences or Ibn Arabi's thought out of the curriculum of the madrasa system, then very dry and very narrow-minded students was grow up. So I cannot accuse of these young generations. The system, I have to focus on the curriculum system and the philosophy behind the madrasa. That's why Davud al-Kayseri very important. He was the first commander of Fususul Hikam in the land of Anatolia, in the land which we were living now. So starting with Davud al-Kayseri, then it comes another person, another important person between Davud al-Kayseri and Ahmad Avni Konuk, very famous person who is whose name is Abdullah al-Bosnevi, Abdullahi Bosnevi, from Bosnia originally, and he studied in Cairo and Istanbul, and he passed away. He died in Konya. He resides in Konya. He wrote he wrote a commentary on Fususul Hikam twice. First, he wrote it in Turkish, in Ottoman Turkish. Then he made it again slightly different, not too much difference. We can say that translate into Arabic, but with some corrections or some additions, actually. And he wrote commentary on Fususul Hikam in Ottoman Turkish, then Arabic. Both of them, it is not published as with a critical edition. Arabic text still remains in manuscript, but the Ottoman Turkish were being printed in Bulak, and the late Bülent Rauf, rahimahullah, translated into English this book with the small mistakes of attributing his name from Bosnevi to Bursevi. The Bursevi's commentary actually belongs to Bosnevi. Bosnevi in Arabic script is very similar. So it doesn't matter who wrote it, but very important commentary. Just for your information, for the audience presence here, I would like to inform that I myself edited the Arabic text of Bosnevi, Arabic commentary on Fususul Hikam. I already finished it. And with one of my friends who edited the Ottoman text, and she is ending, she is coming to end to finalize his corrections. When she finish, we are waiting for her, then we will publish it face to face, page by page, Arabic commentary with the Ottoman commentary side by side. So it will be a good edition, inshallah, maybe 4 or 5 volumes altogether. Then we can compare, we can read Ottoman text with Arabic text altogether. Both of them was written by himself by Abdullahi Bosnevi. So another important person from the ancestors, spiritual ancestors of the Ahmed Avni Konuk was very famous Mevlevi Sheikh Ismail Rusuhi Dede, Ismail Ankaravi, who wrote a commentary on Mesnevi Rumi, Mesnevi Mevlana Jalaluddin Rumi, with the Akbarian understanding, with the Ibn al-Arabi's terminology. So it was published in Ottoman language, this book, and never rendered into Latin, and translated into Persian with Khanum Settarzadeh. She translated from Ottoman Turkish directly to Persian and published in Iran nearly 20 years ago, still out of print now. It needs again to print, and never translated into any Western languages. Why was the important this person for Ahmed Avni Konuk? The Ankaravi Dede was important because he was the first person says that we suck two milk from two mother, Ibn al-Arabi and Mevlana. So he confessed that we combine those founding fathers, two founding fathers of the Ottoman spirituality, one side from Ibn al-Arabi, the other one Mevlana Jalaluddin Rumi, and make it combine in one spiritual source. After him, this line continued up to Ahmed Avni Konuk. So now we can enter Ahmed Avni Konuk and say something about him. Ahmed Avni Konuk was born actually, the Abdullahi Bosnevi's for whom interested in Abdullahi Bosnevi's commentary, his name is Tecelliyat Arais Nusus. This book is under the title Tecelliyat Arais Nusus fi Sharh al-Fusus. Ahmed Avni Konuk was born in 1869 in Istanbul, and his father Musa Kazım Bey, and his mother is Fatıma Zehra Hanım. Ahmed Avni Bey graduated from, when he graduated from primary school, he memorized Quran, all Quran. On his life and on his works, there are a few studies has been done on him. One of them is one book published recently on his life and his thought by Savaş Bakçin. And the another professor who wrote an English article nearly 20 years ago, Professor Tahir Uluç, one of our friends, who wrote on his life, on his thought, and he translated into English the first nearly 5 or 6 pages from his commentary into English. So mostly I am based on those two sources, Tahir Uluç and Savaş Bakçin's books, and I combined them. So when he was around 9 and 10 years old, first his father passed away, then very short, he lost his mother. So he became orphan, and he was transferred to Darul Shafaka in last years of Ottoman Empire. This school was school for orphans, and graduated from this school. Sultan Abdulhamid II appointed him as a postal clerk and in post office. Actually, he was working in the PTT. We call it PTT. He was a post officer. And then he entered Mektebi Hukuki Şahane. Mektebi Hukuki Şahane, Royal Faculty of Law. So he graduated from the University of Royal Faculty of Law. So he was a lawyer at the beginning, and with a degree of honor. And he served 43 years on different posts in this department and retired in 1933. Till 1933, with different stages, different ranks, he around 30 years he worked in post office, in postal service of late Ottoman Empire. He Department of Post, Department of Telegraph, and Department of Telephone, and he was very well versed in Arabic, in Persian, and in French as well, as all last Ottoman intellectuals. He was a francophone. They were speaking very well versed in French languages. He died on 1939 and was buried in the Merkez Efendi Cemetery in Istanbul. So 1939, actually it is not very long life he lived. And for your information, when he lived and while he was working in the bureaucracy, and also the world situation was under the terrible circumstances of the First World War. So during the First World War, everyone was fighting. He was reading Fusus, he was reading Mesnevi and making a commentary. So we just have to keep in our mind or in imagination. He was a Sufi, initiated into Mevlevi order. From initiatical point of view, he was a practical Sufi, entered Mevlevi order by Esat Dede of Salonika. Esat Dede was his sheikh. Esat Dede from Salonika, nowadays in Greece. Esat Dede, a very important person who wrote commentary, and he taught Fusus al-Hikam at the same time Mesnevi together. So Ahmad Avni took this example from his master, from his sheikh. By the way, just for extra information, Mehmet Esat Dede's ancestors, grandfather, has been said that was Jewish origin and converted to the Islam. So his grandfather converted to Islam from Judaism, from Salonika, and he settled down in Istanbul, and he studied with many masters. Esat Dede taught public courses after the congregational prayer on Fridays, Juma prayers, and after afternoon prayer in the month of Ramadan at Fatih Mosque. In addition, he taught special courses at the Çayırlı Medrese after the dawn prayer on Tuesdays. In the second type of courses, he taught Rumi's Mesnevi and Ibn Arabi's Fusus al-Hikam. In the public at the mosque, he was teaching, he was actually preaching in a general sense with a Sufi test, but more technical classes he was doing in Çayırlı Medrese in a private, with a private and elected people in a private, let's say, classroom or atmosphere. He taught Rumi, he taught İbn Arabi's Füsusül Kem and Mahmud Şebistari's Gülşen Raz. Ahmed Avni Efendi and some other friends, his friends, attended the classes after the dawn prayer until the death of their master. It seems Ahmed Avni acquired most of his erudition from this man, from Esad Dede, and drew upon the education in writings, his commentaries on Mesnevi and the Fusus. So I just omit more detail about Esad Dede, but Esad Dede also is important Mevlevi figure with the same line of the Ibn Arabi and Mevlana together. He was taken. Started with Rusuhi Dede, actually. Classical, yes. Ahmed Avni Konuk, well, Halil Can mentions that in the year 1925, a Swedish scholar came to Istanbul, actually Karvet. He didn't mention his name, but his name is Karvet. And he made Mehmed Ali Ayni, the famous philosopher, famous professor of philosophy, died in 1945 in the Istanbul University at the time, Darul Funun. He was teaching philosophy. And this scholar, Swedish scholar, met Ayni and asked from Mehmed Ali Ayni about Ahmed Avni Konuk. And he wanted to meet him and kiss his hands. I said that I want to meet him and kiss his hands. And Ayni replied that he didn't know someone by this name. And being surprised by this reply, the Swedish scholar said, "How do you not know such a person? We read his essays published in the European journals. He's a very valuable scholar." Because Ahmed Avni's some articles were published in a very limited edition of the Robert College newsletter. He wrote some articles in Robert College newsletter and translated into some foreign languages, and they were reading from them. Ahmed Avni, beside being a Sufi, he was a musician, he was a composer, and very skilled musician and poet. He took his first music courses from Eyyubi Zekai Dede, and when he was a student at the Darüşşafaka, because at Darüşşafaka is a high school, by the way. Music teacher was Zekai Dede at the Darüşşafaka High School. So Ahmed Avni, young Ahmed Avni, was one of his students there. He was so excellent in music theory that he could produce a song depending only on the definitions found in the Edwar books. You know, Kitabul Edwar is very important books on the theory of the music, starting from Meraghi and Ibn Sina and Meraghi. Many scholars has written on this. And he composed, Ahmed Avni Efendi composed very lengthy makam, which is called Kâr-ı Nâtık. He himself composed this makam. And he is considered one of the last representative of ITRI school. Ahmed Avni Efendi was considered as one of the last representative of the ITRI school in Turkish classical music. He was a poem. He was a poet. He wrote some poem. He versified some of the Arabic and Persian lines, and his works is very important. Just I would like to count some of his works because he's a prolific writer on the field of Sufism, poetry, music, exceed around 30 books. The cardinal role which took place in the field of Sufism in particular and in Ottoman intellectualism in general is that he rendered the works of Ibn Arabi and Rumi all together. His monumental work, besides commentary on Füsusül Hikam, which I will enter a little bit later, was his very important commentary on Mesnevi Şerif, Mesnevi Manevi Mevlana-i Celaleddin Rumi. This work is composed of 34 notebooks and preserved in the Konya Mevlana Museum. The author wrote it between the years 1929 and 1937, actually, just the Second World War started. This commentary and commentary on Füsusül Hikam actually was unlucky books, unlucky in a sense that in 1923, there was a revolution in Turkey. Then it follows some cultural change in the society. In 1998, as all we know, one of the pillars of the Republican revolutions was on the change in the script from Arabic script to Latin script. When it happened, many books were written in Turkish, but with Arabic script was actually a total the society became totally ignorant to read and to understand what it was written there. So Ahmed Avni wrote everything in Arabic script, Ottoman Turkish, but with Arabic script. So he couldn't find opportunity to publish them. He was upset, and all his written heritage was taken by some of his followers to private private control, and most of them they give it as a donation to the Museum of Mevlana Celaleddin Rumi. It was preserved there nearly 50 years. No one know them till the late Professor Selçuk Eraydın, who passed away in 1995, and his friend and my professor, my hoca, Professor Mustafa Tahralı. By the way, he is in hospital now, and we will, inshallah, pray for him. Most probably, he will have a small surgery, or inshallah, it will not be necessary. But on Monday, they will decide. The committee will decide whether he will need operation or not. He is hospitalized for 5 days there. Today I spoke to him. So those two professors took this heritage from museum. Actually, it was, I don't want to enter, I know I witnessed how was difficult to obtain those manuscripts from the library. And Alhamdulillah, at the end, they took it. Then they started to work on this text. And one of the Professor Selçuk Eraydın suddenly in the traffic accident, he passed away. Then Mustafa Tahralı, he himself, alhamdulillah, could succeed to finish this commentary, huge commentary of Mesnevi. And alhamdulillah, in Latin script, it was published without changing the they are changing only the script. They are not simplifying the Turkish language. The Turkish language as it is, as in at the beginning of at the beginning of this century, how it was, they preserve it, the meaning, and they only change from Arabic into Latin script, and it was published. I heartily suggest anyone who can translate it from Turkish into any other languages, it would be worth to have, because he, as I told you, his sources is very tremendous sources he has been using. Many commentaries on Mesnevi already written or published in India, in Iran, in everywhere he collected. So he was choosing, he was preferring some old commentators, and he himself put some his insights on it. So his Mesnevi Sharif is very important. And second book of him is Kitabu Tedbirat İlahiye. You know, the Ibn Arabi is another famous book on Sufi politics or esoteric politics, on Tedbirat İlahiye fi İslah Memleket el-İnsaniye. Ahmad Avni Efendi, he translated from Arabic into Turkish with commentary on this book. And this book also, with the help of Professor Tahralı, was rendered from Arabic script into Turkish, Latin script, and it was published. And the third book of him, Tercüme-i Risale-i Vahdeti Vücud, this originally written by Imdadullah Faruqi Tahanevi from India, and Persian treatise, small book. Ahmed Avni Efendi translated from Persian into Ottoman language. And I'm speeding up. Fourthly, Kitabu Lama'at, as you know, Lama'at, Divine Flashes of Fahruddin Raki. Ahmed Avni Efendi translated from Persian into Turkish. And the fifth book of Fihi Ma Fihi of Mevlana Celaleddin Rumi's very famous, very important book, Fihi Ma Fihi. He translated from Persian and into Turkish. And Menakıb-ı Hazreti Mevlana Celaleddin Rumi, or Sipehsalar tercümesi. As you know, this is a hagiography of Rumi, and written by, composed by Feridun bin Ahmed Sipehsalar. He translated from Persian. And he translated also Azizuddin Nesefi, İnsan-ı Kamil, Perfect Man. He translated from Persian into Turkish under my supervision. One of my students, he finished his thesis, and he prepared this book into as a thesis in Turkish languages. And he wrote a Khanende. Khanende, it is a collection of song words of Turkish classical music. Konuk wrote this work at the age of 27. When he was at 27, he composed this book, Khanende. And it was published, actually. And his small book, which is called on Hazreti Meryem ve İsa, his commentary on Mary, Virgin Mary and Jesus Christ, and this included in commentary of him on Fusus al-Hikam. And another very important book of him, when you will hear, it will be surprise for some. His book is Vahdet-i Vücut ve Vahdet-i Şuhud Risalesi. This work has intended to answer the criticism which the Naqshbandi Sheikh İhsan Oğuz leveled at the Fusus in his Islam Tasavvufunda Vahdet-i Vücut. One of the late Naqshbandi scholar in Turkey, he criticized Vahdet-i Vücut and he defended, as you know, Vahdet-i Vücut, Vahdet-i Şuhud dispute. Has been long. It has been long discussions. He took the line of Vahdet-i Şuhud and made very strong critics of Vahdet-i Vücut and criticized Ibn Arabi. Ahmad Avni Konuk, he was the first critic of Vahdet-i Şuhud and Mektubat-ı İmam-ı Rabbani. He wrote a book on criticizing Imam Rabbani, Ahmed Faruk Serhendi. Under my supervision, one of my students, he did his MA thesis on this book, and he prepared as a thesis, but it is not published yet as a thesis form now. Very important, because we know many critics, many opponents of Ibn Arabi, around 70 people were criticized Ibn Arabi and wrote books against him, but nobody knows that. Is there any critics of Ahmed Serhendi? Many of us doesn't know, but he was one of the critics of the Imam Rabbani's Mektubat and his interpretation of Vahdet-i Şuhud against Vahdet-i Vücut. And he said that Vahdet-i Vücut is more comprehensive than Vahdet-i Şuhud. Şuhud is vision, vision is belong to Vücut, belong to being. So being is more comprehensive than seeing, according to his commentary. So it comes to last book, his Fusus al-Hikam, Tercüme ve Şerhi. Again, he wrote this commentary and gave it after his death. It was taken to the Konya Museum, and then with the help of those professors, alhamdulillah, it was published. Just for your information, I would like to show this book is 2 volume. 2 volume. I am putting like this. It was prepared and published in Latin script, without simplification. The text, the language, it was written, it is preserved the time of the beginning of the century, and it is available in the market. Reprints and revised edition just recently published again. And what the good news is that who wants to buy it, they can buy it. Who wants to download it as a PDF, free. You can enter the yazmalar.org. You can download it from there. Of course, if you read Turkish. So, Ibn Arabi, Ahmed Avni Konuk, he said that, you know, I don't know how many minutes we have, moderator.
We're actually, we're just there. Do we have more? Of course we have more. It's up to you, Dr. Kılıç. We can do another 5 minutes and then we can go to QA after that.
Okay, in 5 minutes, I can say that in this commentary, still the teaching of Ibn Arabi is teaching Ibn Arabi's insights, Ibn Arabi's ideas in the Sufi line. It has been carried by this book in today's Turkey. I myself attended 2 private classes with 2 different Sufi masters. One of them was late, Rahimahullah. He passed away 4 years ago. Was a Hamzavi Melami Sheikh, Melami of Hamzavi branch. I would like to say homage to his heritage, which I benefited from his insight and his commentary and his personality. Nearly 20 years I have attended his classes, who was Baha Doramaji Efendi. With Baha Doramaji Efendi, we read from the beginning to the end all Ahmed Avni Efendi's commentary twice. So 1,000 pages we started to read, and Baha Efendi was commenting on this. We were question and answer. It was wonderful atmosphere. So secondly, another Nakshi Melami master, Ahmed Yivlik Efendi, near in Beyazıt, in Karababa Dergah, was teaching to his followers Ahmed Avni Efendi's commentary on Füsusül Hikam. So Ahmed Avni Efendi's commentaries, especially like Davud al-Kayseri's introduction, Ahmed Avni Efendi's introduction, around 100 pages, for me is a good summary of the introduction to Ibn Arabi's ideas. Even to my students, I always advise them, tell them that if you don't have time to read all the commentary, at least you have to read first 100 pages. Like Davud al-Kayseri's commentaries in Mukaddime, this Mukaddime also, it is worth to be considered as a separate book, introduction to Ibn Arabi's system. Ibn Arabi's school pay attention too much towards the Mukaddimas. All Mukaddimas, Mukaddima of Füsusül Hikam, Mukaddima of the other books as well, very important. Because if you know how to enter, then the end, it is not important. The important thing is initiation. Initiation is starting. If you start well, if you properly starting, then Alhamdulillah, one day you will reach the end, or otherwise it doesn't matter. You know, being on the way, it could be wonderful as well. So I wanted to read some of, just for conclusion, I would like to, for the barakah also, what he was collecting, for example, for the maratib al-wujud, the leveling of the existence in the introduction, he collect from the different commentaries of the Füsusül Hikam all the terminologies. So, for example, for la ta'ayyun, for non-manifestation level, he said that many different equivalent terminology was being used for describing the same level, such as wujudu sirf, for example, such as I am reading, I cannot translate all of them, even you cannot translate into English, you cannot translate into Turkish or any other languages, just read it, just try to understand. Vücudu sırf, zatı saziç, Aynı kafur, mechulun nat, ezelül azal, gaybül guyub, munkati'ül işarat, munkati'ül vicdani, kıdemül kıdem, zat-ı ehadiyye, zat-ı hüviyye, zat-ı bila taaddüt, gayb-ı meçhul, mahzen-i şuun, evveli la nihaye, hesti mutlak, kenzi mahvi, ehadiyeti sırf. So it goes nearly 50 term he choose from different sources to describe only one level. So he applied this methodology to all 7 levels, Maratib-i Seb'a, the 7 septenary constitution of the existence, he explains. So I have to stop somewhere. So I stop now.
This was
Thank you for
beautiful.
listening.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dr. Kılıç. And I will just go ahead and start with the QA, if it's okay with you.
All right.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start with Stephen's question about um, he's going into our time. Basically, he's asking Professor Kılıç say more about the inner significance of combining the spiritual teachings of Ibn Arabi and Rumi, especially in our own time. Historically, this may be observable, but why it is important today?
Why it is important today, actually? Well, what is today? What is modern man? All of you know that modern man has seeking the essence, seeking the meaning of his life. So anybody who teach them to teach to the modern man can help modern man, actually. So Ibn Arabi explaining the metaphysical background or metaphysical origin, divine origin of the human beings in a prose words, in sometime in a poetical words, and more prose style. But Mevlana also in a Persian style, he symbolizing the same reality with different style, but sometimes if we combine both of them, actually, well, it fits to some, like me, for example. Yeah, I benefited too much from Ibn Arabi, but when I read Ibn Arabi, when I read some poems from Divan-ı Kebir of Mevlana Celaleddin Rumi, the puzzle comes together and makes me evraka, makes me something is, yes, this is. So, well, of course, it can be opponents, such as some scholars, late scholar like Abdülbaki Gölpınarlı, for example. He was opponents of this methodology. He says that Mevlana is Mevlana, and he was against Ibn Arabi. He was against Wahdat al-Wujud, idea of the Wahdat al-Wujud. And unfortunately, I must confess that what I discovered from the documents that during the 1950s, someone proposed to Minister of Religious Affairs, Diyanet, at the time, to publish Ahmed Avni Konuk's commentary on Mesnevi, to publish it. They proposed to the Minister of Religious Affairs. And Minister of Religious Affairs, the head of the Minister of Affairs, established a committee, scientific committee, and asked their opinion. Head of this committee was Professor late Abdülbaki Gölpınarlı, and he wrote a terrible report on this commentary, and he said that Ibn Arabi is Arabi, is Wahdat al-Wujud, and didn't understand Mevlana. So this Ahmed Avni's commentary, it is not worth to publish it because he interprets Rumi in the lights of Ibn Arabi, which he shouldn't. I don't agree with him. You know, some people may understand there is a line in Iran and there is a line in Turkey as well. I don't think that there is somewhere else. Some scholars of literature, some scholars of edebiyat, language and literature professors, they mostly focus on the style of the Rumi in Persian language, and they try to omit his philosophy, his Sufism. So they are against Sufism, but they said Rumi's phrase is very important. Like nowadays, this year is Yunus Emre year of UNESCO with the Turkish Minister of Culture. But what I heard from some friends that some bureaucrats asked from some people to introduce Yunus Emre as a literalist, not as a Sufi. You know, many people are afraid of inclining towards Sufism. I don't know why. Actually, I know why, but this is not the place to enter. So this wrong attitude towards to separate both great masters. Like Farabi, as you know, Farabi wrote a book. He says that al-jam'u bayna ra'y al-hakimayn. Aristotle's, before Aristotle, Platon said something and his student says something a little bit different, Aristotle. So some people thought that Aristotle's against his master. Aristotle's ideas completely different from Platon. And Farabi says that no, actually, if you can combine it, if you can, if you know how to combine them, actually they are explaining different aspect from the same reality. So he wrote this book and made combination between two masters. Rusuhi Dede, Ahmed Ankarabi, he made the same thing as Farabi made on Aristotle and Platon. He made on Ibn Arabi and Mevlana together. So this line is very important in the Ottoman Sufi tradition, which I am belong to.
Perfect. Going to Rudy's question. Professor Kılıç mentioned that in the madrasa system, Sufism gradually disappeared. What time are we talking about? I read nowadays that Sufism is put outside of regular Islamic thinking, whereas in the past, there was much more unity. Sufism was and much more intrinsic part of Islam. What can be said of this?
Well, at the very beginning, there were no madrasa, there were no mosque, there were no tekya separated from each other. There were one locus, one mekan, one place. They were gathering together, they were praying, they were chanting, they were making zikr, and they were also reading the text or exchanging the some informations at the time of Prophet Muhammad. Then those three type of transmitting knowledge, little by little, in the course of time, they start to go their own ways. The men of unity, al-muwahhidun, always they try to keep them together. They never let them go separate and independent from each other, from one side, because one side is dependent on the other. So the best model is to combine those three lines together. But unfortunately, sometimes it couldn't be succeeded in some places here and there. And the separation, it goes, and the gap started to widen it till the 70. I'm speaking in the course of Ottoman history, till the 17th century. Actually, more or less, they were together. But later on, some externalist scholars started to deny Sufism. Then they kick out all Sufi teaching from madrasa system. They said this is bid'ah, this is shirk, this is so and so forth. Many accusations on it because they couldn't understand. What they understand is less knowledgeable and external practical things, how to pray, how to do, but they neglect why to pray, why to read, why to do something. They start to forget the maqasid. Maqasid is the goal of your actions, your ibadat, your praying. They started to teach only how to do it. So then Sufis, some of them, not all of them, of course, some of them became angry with them, and they said, "Go ahead. We don't want your ilm sharia. You go your own way. We go our own way." Even sometimes they use verses from Quran, lekum dinukum veliyedin. Your way is yours, my way is my ways. So even unfortunately, I must confess that little some quarrel and disputes, even fighting, start among them. What is worst, some Salafis, some externalists attack on Sufi tekkes, which is started with Chivizade and Kadızade family, teaching families of the Ottoman Salafis started, and then unfortunately it couldn't be combined again. I do hope that in one time it will come, no escape, and this gap will be combined again, because our tradition has this root starting from Davud al-Kayseri up to now. We alienated from this tradition. If we go deeply, if we rediscover this tradition, we will find these four levels of religion in Yunus Emre's thought. As Yunus Emre, in his divan, in his poetry, he says that Shariat, Tariqat, Marifet, Hakikat. But Shariat, Tariqat, yoldur varana, which means Shariat and Tariqat is relative. It is not absolute. They are way, they are instrument. You have to follow, you can follow a Shariat, you can follow the Tariqat, the way, but both of them are not your goal, your destiny. Your final destiny is to reach, by using those two, to reach the other two, which is Marifet, which is Gnosis, and the Hakikat, which is reality of you actually. Man arafa nafsahu fakat arafa rabbahu. Who knows himself, herself, who knows means not physical bodies knowing it, who I am. It is not ID card, which is who, from where I came, from which quality I was created, what is my divine origin. So I came from divinity and to insanity. So insanity is not permanent. And my insanity phase of me will die one day, but my insight, which is divinity of mine, will be continuing forever. The animal body will die, as Yunus Emre says that. Yunus öldü diye sela verirler. Ölen hayvan imiş, aşıklar ölmez. He says this.
Perfect. Thank you. I apologize for intervening. We have like 6-7 minutes remaining. We have several questions. Well, one of the most important questions is the sources that you gave us. Would it be possible for us to actually send the sources to our audiences? If we can get a list from you and send the audiences, that would be super.
Sources of my speech or sources of Ahmed Avni Konu's commentary?
The sources that we just talked about, the ones that we just listed in your speech, actually.
Well, in my speech, based on mostly this book, which I gave already address, anyone can free print it, but it is downloadable. But you should know the Turkish language. By reading this, you can learn Turkish as well.
All right. Okay. From Zaid's question, Ibn Arabi knowledge had a chain of transmission. Why did his teaching not develop into a tariqa?
Well, tariqa, it depends on how to understand it. Ibn Arabi mentions of the tariqa, but today's established tariqas, established state and there's a normal state and establishment. So his tariqa is a spiritual tariqa, spiritual way, not necessarily to find a special cloth or special banner or special locus, mekan to gather. So everywhere you can find common heart people, it became your khanika, it became your dargah. So a kind of Melameti approach, which Melameti people are following this, any place, anywhere, it could be your dargah, it could be your tariqa as well. So different, actually not different, the original sense, Salafi sense of tariqa, especially in the Ottoman time, after the 17th century, because of some economic reasons, the waqf, the charity, the foundations of the tariqas goes from family member to family members. So it creates some problems, actually. So I will not criticize the system of the Khanika, dargah, but Ibn Arabi's style is more spontaneous, more spiritual for me. There is no special form. There is no any fixed form, actually, not spatial form. I am correcting what I said before. Not fixed the form. He, of course, he explained many things on Sharia, and he explained on many regulations of tariq, the way to reach the marif and gnosis. I will say something is controversial. Some religious persons, they lost the meaning of religion in Sharia, in Shariat level. They lost the meaning, real meaning of the religion. On the same approach, some people, they lost the meaning of tasawwuf in tariqat, unfortunately. tariqat, tariqat, tariqat, my tariqat, my tariqat, my tariqat is stronger than your tariqat. My tariqat is the best. My master is beating your master. And those, you know, small childish gossips going on in some people of the tariqats, it is not fitting the Akbarian approach.
All right, one last question is from Richard. Please also comment on the concentration on the fusus in the authors that has been discussed as compared to Futuhat.
Futuhatul Mekkiye, inside, you know, there is a one tradition in Sufi lines. They said the all Quran, according to one hadith, it says that all Quran is comprised in Surah Al-Fatiha, and the real meaning of Surah Al-Fatiha comprised in at the beginning is Ba, and the all meaning, all inner meaning of Ba inside the dot under the B. So, أنا نقطة تحت الباء. Imam Ali karramallahu wajha, he said that I am this point. So vice versa, if you have the nokta, if you have the point, then you can get the ba, and from ba you can find the al-Fatiha, and if you have the Fatiha, then you can have all Quran together. One of the contemporary Sufi masters, Osman Kemali Baba, once he said that, you know, another Hamzavi Melavi master, he was a blind person. He says that, although God says that I will preserve Quran, ana hafizun, God says that I will preserve Quran till the end of time. Although he says this, just suppose in that any copy of the Quran, it is not remained. All of them are disappeared. Nothing remained Quran, and all Hafiz, commentator, are died. Nobody knows Quran. He said that just give me verse Fatiha, I can read again Quran. I can write Quran from the beginning to the end from the Fatiha. So same approach Ibn Arabi was using. Actually, all his thought is compromised in Naqsh al-Fusus. Then he commented on Naqsh al-Fusus. He opened it, became Fusus al-Hikam, and Fusus al-Hikam is opened in the level is Futuhatul Mekkiyya. So all of them actually in the same line. But for the pedagogical approach or teaching approach, according to Ottoman Sufi circles, why they were reading Futuhatul Mekkiyya in common public, but they were reading Futuhatul Hikam with private classes, not with everybody. So Fusus is a last year book. It is not for beginners, not for intermediate, for post-advanced course, then they start to read Fusus al-Hikam. Yeah. This was their systematic approach. But some verses from, some chapters from Futuhat al-Mekkiyya, especially the last chapter, which is Nasai, advises, last chapter of Futuhat al-Mekkiyya, he advised to all, from beginners to intermediates and to all people.
Thank you. Dr. Kılıç, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I want to move further, but I guess we're out of time. This was a great session. Really appreciate it. And thank you for everybody for joining this session as well. And this is the first time we're doing it from Istanbul. Thanks so much for our interpreters as well. They did a great job. And hope to see you guys next week, same time. And we will be sending the notes as well before the session starting next week on Saturday, same time. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Kılıç.
Thank you all.